Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am Amalgam Ash, and this is Smile Game Builder. In this video, I am going to show you how to free up some of your precious switches and maybe even variables for use by tripling, potentially quadrupling, or even quintupling the amount of switches that you can have in SGB. And we can do this right in the engine. We don't need Unity, we don't need any other assets, and we don't need to break the EULA or hack the engine or anything silly like that. So let's go. So just to create an example of the kind of stuff you can do by using this trick, which by the way will work in any RPG engine that supports global switches and global string variables, I have created a map that I am going to actually distribute on my itch.io page for free, obviously. So you'll be able to take this file and play with it as much as you want, move things around, and you can, instead of the 8 switches here, create 800 switches if you'd like, and 800 doors, and see exactly how this trick is going to help you in ways you never thought possible. So to show you what's actually going to happen, we're going to play test this map by middle mouse clicking right on the playtest button. And we are in. There are no secrets, no hidden tricks here, nothing like that. We have 8 buttons, we have 8 doors that correspond to those buttons, and we have an NPC. The NPC is only here because I wanted a nice intuitive way for you to be able to check the value of the single string variable that we will be using for this project. And there's nothing in it, so the NPC has nothing to say. So we'll go ahead and head on over to our switches. Let's go ahead and step on one. Let's just step on the blue one. That's very loud. And we'll see if that opened up the blue door. It did. It opened up its corresponding door. The inner 4 switches here will open up the inner 4 doors. The outer 4 switches will open up the outer 4 doors. So let's go ahead and step on the red switch, and that flies right open. Let's go ahead and step on the 2 green switches, and we'll walk over here and see if those doors open. And they do. Usually you would accomplish this by using 8 global switches, and if you are planning on making a dungeon crawler or something to that effect where you're going to be burning through these switches like wildfire, you'll begin to see very quickly that you'll need to change the way you develop in order to be able to use those limited switches in an effective way. But I seldom see string variables used. I usually don't see a string variable used unless someone is allowing you to change your player characters' names, or if you're inputting a password or something of that nature in a Smile Game Builder game. So let's just zoom in a little bit and talk to our Marie NPC. And she's got some gibberish that she's saying. So why is she saying this stuff now? Why did she say nothing earlier? Well, it's because I have assigned a few letters and a number to each one of these switches. I've assigned a unique couple of letters and a number to each one. No 2 switches will have the same couple of letters or number. Every time you step on one, it takes its unique combination of letter, number, and it adds it to the same string variable. So it doesn't matter if we step on the blue buttons first and then the green buttons, or the green buttons and then the red buttons, or we go backwards and step on them in reverse order. Every button is going to work as intended every single time. So I have reset the game just so I could start fresh from the beginning. We're going to step on the blue buttons first, and then I'm going to talk to Marie. And now she's got some gibberish that she's saying. What is that? BB1, BB2? What is that? Why is she saying that? Well, let's step on the green one now, just one of them, and talk to her again. Now she says BB1, BB2, GB1. So each one of these buttons has a special combination of 2 letters and 1 number. And these aren't special to SGB. They're not keywords or the only way to do this or anything like that. They're just a couple of letters and a number that I'm using so that I can keep track of these buttons. BB1 to me means blue button 1. BB2 is blue button 2. And GB1 is green button 1. And every time I step on one of these other buttons, I'm adding another code to that string variable. And when I talk to her, she'll be able to let me know what the contents of that string variable are. We don't have a way to do that by using the debug feature in SGB. We can't look at the string variables in here. So that's why I've got an NPC to do it. It's just a way for me to test and debug this particular project. But every time I step on one, it's sending the code to that one string variable. I'm not using any global switches at all for this. Now, each of these doors over here, they are not checking for the global switches like they do when you take the event, the door event, and you just drop it onto the map. I've changed that event so that it checks for the value in the string variable instead. These doors won't open unless I have stepped on the button. In other words, they won't open until their corresponding code is in this string variable. All right, so if that hasn't confused you to pieces, I'd like to step through the code with you very quickly. So we've got actually 16 events here. So we'll go into the event settings for just the one, and I've only got one sheet for the button. I went ahead and took away the other. When the player makes contact with the event, in other words, when it gets stepped on, we're using the check string variable box, which, by the way, to use this event panel, you would go into the branches tab of your event panel menu, and it's right here, check string variable box. And in this event panel, you can take any one of your 256 string variables, or even your main hero name string variables, and you can rename these to your liking. I've renamed number 0 as button logic, and you can check the value of it. Here I'm looking for the value BB1, and I don't want to make sure that it's the same value because I know that I'm adding different codes to this same string. You can, however, do that, and you can check the beginning or the end of a string, and it will check to see if this text matches the very beginning or the very end of a string. And that way you can create branching choices, you can create paths. But I am checking the including option, which means it'll see if this value, BB1, is anywhere in that string. And that is how I get all of the buttons to work no matter what order you push them in. So then the rest of this is just the stock stuff that came with the event. Chest 3, that you can change that. You can delete it if you wish. The graphic event of the button getting pushed in. The emote of the surprise showing over the player character. However, this is the other thing that I have changed. This is the change string variable box. And this event panel is in the variables tab of your event panel menu. It's right here, change string variable box. And what we have done is we have placed a BB1 in the substitute string box, and we have chosen string 0. That's our very first and only string that we've even had to use for this puzzle, and we're placing that in there. We're not overwriting it. If you overwrite it, that will take everything that's stored in the button logic string variable and wipe it out. If you add it to the beginning or end, well, these things are kind of the same, but I'm keeping it simple. I'm just clicking including, and I'm just adding them to the end. So BB1 will now be added to the end. Now BB1 will be in the button logic. So the reason I have this, what is essentially an if statement here, is that if it is already containing BB1, the event will do nothing. But if it doesn't, because the player hasn't stepped on the button yet, then this series of events will happen, and then the event will end, and then the player won't be able to step on the button and get any sort of reaction to happen again. Now, the buttons originally are set up to be stepped on again in order to reverse that. So if you're wanting to do that, you will still need to use a global switch. Unfortunately, in SGB, we are not allowed to manipulate the different parts of a string variable. We can add to the end or the beginning, and we can completely overwrite them with a value, but we can't check to see if a value is in the string and then replace that. If we could, we would have immense power. We would have too much power, so Smileboom decided we needed to be nerfed and not allow us to do that. Anyways, I hope that I have shown you that there is a way to keep the amount of switches for your game. Each string variable in SGB holds more than 3,000 characters. So if you're using codes like I am, where you've got just 2 letters and a number that you won't use again for any of the other switches in your game, and you multiply that by 1,000, that's 3,000 characters for that string variable, that means that you have just replaced 1,000 switches, or you've replaced the need for 1,000 switches. That's just using one string variable. You have 256 of those. So you could potentially, if you were able to make a unique combination of 3 characters or even 2 characters using various ASCII or escape codes, you would have 256,000 switches now, or roughly the equivalent, as long as you don't need to reverse the effects of the switch. So if any of this isn't making any sense, feel free to download this project. It's at no cost. It will be available on my itch. You can download it, change any of the parameters you want. And if you'd like to take any of this logic, this map, and all of these events and add it to your game without having to use this project as the basis, then you can easily use the project merge tool that comes with Smile Game Builder. And that's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you thought that this was helpful, and feel free to download the project again. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Until then, bye for now.